In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about care and maintenance of your wash plant. Now, once you get the wash plant home, it's going to be all dirty and everything, so you can go ahead and wash it off. And I just recommend just using a regular garden hose with a nozzle. Just kind of spray it and wash it down. Get all the mud and dirt off and stuff. Like so. And just kind of go all the way around the plant here. Just making sure you get all the dirt out as much as possible. And if you want, you can go ahead and apply soap and water to everything. You can take this off, clean it up, clean off the spray bar and everything here. Yep. And now just make it a little nicer. Now you notice everything is flowing down the shaker deck and down here onto the sluice. So most of the material is going to be flowing down and eventually it's going to end up on the dewatering deck. Go. It really doesn't take much to clean this. However, if you want, you can use a pressure washer to do this, but I recommend that you don't put it on super high pressure. You just want it kind of on a light to moderate pressure. You don't want it so powerful that's going to peel the paint off or cut your fingers off, okay? We don't want to damage the equipment, but you can use a pressure washer if you'd like. Most of the material is all flowed off the upper shaker deck and also down on the sluice, and it all accumulates down here on the dewatering shaker deck. So let me show you how we're going to clean that off. So all we're going to do is just simply tip up the trailer. I got a little piece of wood on the back end of this, so it just rests nicely right on top of that. Okay, like so. And then we go ahead and take our garden hose and we just go ahead and wash it from the very top here, spraying down all the mud and material. Just kind of rinsing it all the way off. Next, we're going to clean the dewatering deck with some distilled vinegar, okay, white vinegar. And what this does is this helps dissolve some of the calcium salts that may be actually plugging up the screen mesh. And this helps clear that out so you get good dewatering effect. So all we're going to do is just take this non-abrasive sponge with, the blue one with the abrasive scouring pad, and we're just going to soak it up with some vinegar. We're going to gently apply this vinegar to the screen. We're just going to sit there and just kind of scrub it around. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. Don't scrub it real hard. Just nice and smooth. Because all you're doing is just applying the vinegar to help dissolve some of the calcium salts. In fact, you look carefully, you'll see little bitty bubbles here, so you know it's actually working on those calcium pieces. And we're just going to just kind of smear it all around. We'll dip it a few times. So, okay, and like I say, you just don't want to scrub it down real hard. You want to keep it really gentle as possible, because the key to this dewatering deck is that these screens have to be maintained super tight. If you press down and scrub it really hard, you could actually bend the screen and cause it to loosen, okay? And even though it's attached with epoxy for each little square, okay, it can still loosen up, and then you're going to lose your dewatering effect to some degree. So, and the other thing is that you're probably not going to open up all the holes, but you'll have a vast majority of them open up, which is just fine for the dewatering aspect. And also, when this thing is running, a lot of times all those little bits of debris that are attached between each little square that's in this screen will eventually pop loose and come out anyway. So anyhow, this just gets it extra clean. And so we'll just let this sit here for a few minutes, and then we'll go ahead and rinse this off. Once you get it all cleaned up, the next step is going to go through all the nuts and bolts and check to make sure everything's nice and tight and snug. Now, the Gold Rattler is put together mostly with Loctite and lock nuts as well as nylon nuts, so it should be pretty secure. But because this thing does vibrate, there is a good possibility that something might come loose. So I recommend you're going to need a 7/16 wrench set as well as a 1/2 inch wrench set. And also, the Gold Rattler comes with a hex key for the fittings that are here on the superstructure. The Gold Rattler superstructure is put together with these little T-fittings, steel T-fittings. They come with a bolt that locks it down. So we're just going to go through and just make sure these are nice and firm. There's one over here. And of course, there's a bunch of them throughout this whole superstructure that you're just going to check to make sure everything's nice and snug. Next, we're just going to get our wrench set, and we're just going to check all the nuts and bolts down here. In fact, most of the nuts and bolts on the Gold Rattler are all quarter 20, okay? So we're just gonna make sure that all these are nice and snug all the way down. All right, let's just kind of check some of the bolts down here on the dewatering deck as well, just to make sure they're nice and snug. So we're just gonna go through each one of these over here. Yep. And so you're just gonna follow all the way down the line, make sure everything is nice and firm. Now, you don't have to torque them down super tight, but they should be nice and firm. While you're checking all the bolts, I just want to bring to your attention this plastic clamp that holds the PVC pipe, which is the spray bar. Okay, I like to keep this kind of firm. I don't like to make it torque down really tight because you don't want to break the plastic or anything. So you just want it firm enough so that way it's got some resistance and you can still kind of move the spray bar a little bit if you need to make some adjustments. So make sure this is not torqued down too tight. One final recommendation I have is that when you're all done cleaning up the Gold Rattler, checking it all out, try to store it in some place so it's not in the weather. You know, even though it's all steel for the most part, there are some plastics and rubbers and things like that, and it'll just last longer if you can maybe put it in a shed or a little three-sided figure, cover it with a tarp, or if there's room in the garage, you can go ahead and park it in the garage, and that's how I keep mine. And also, if you need the extra room, you can also unbolt the tongue on this, so that'll save you a lot of space because it's only about 4 feet long. So anyway, this will just keep your Gold Rattler lasting longer so it's not exposed to the heat and the sun and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that pretty much concludes the care and maintenance of the Gold Rattler. I hope you are very successful, enjoy using this machine, and find lots of gold with it, and wish you the very best of luck.